Welcome to our first live video with the two of us. So if you have been following me for a while, I guess at least for a month, then you've probably seen that we have done Whole30. So we've had lots of requests to do a live video to answer some of the frequently asked questions that I've had on social media. And anyway, so we have feel free to hop on and you can ask any of your questions that you have, and then we have kind of a list of questions that people have been asking on social media as well. So we can get started. So our first, obviously, so this is Dave. This is my husband.
Hi.
And the first question that we are going to address is, what is Whole30? I'm going to let Dave kind of take this away because he's more of the expert on it than I am.
So Whole30 is a 30-day nutritional reset. It is an elimination diet that requires you to cut out all cereal grains, dairy products, legumes, processed sugar or added sugar, and processed foods for 30 days, with the idea that you really get to know your body again, really get to feel what it feels like to be eating whole foods, and to have a lot of foods that have allergens or otherwise can irritate your body out of your system, and then slowly start adding some of those foods back into your daily diet to see how your body responds. And it is life-changing for me. Has really been life-changing for our family, and we'll talk more about that this evening.
Yeah. So that's kind of in a nutshell what Whole30 is.
And you know what? Rather than just talking about what you cut out, really what you eat on Whole30 are lean meats, fruits, vegetables, nuts, herbs, spices, and healthy oils like avocado oil, olive oil, coconut oil.
Yeah. And if there are like specific questions about what we ate, feel free to ask those as well. I guess I should address also, I'm going to have a series of blog posts coming your way next week. That there's going to be one about breastfeeding while on Whole30, another one about how we planned the foods that we ate, and then actually one with this video on there. So those are going to be coming your way next week as well. So let's see here. Okay, so the first question that we're going to address is grocery budget. Do you want to talk about that first? So this actually is probably the hardest one for me because I'm a cheapo. I'll see that.
Yes, so the way that we did Whole30 was not cheap, at least the first time around. We did it for the first time about 10 or 11 months ago, and then did our second round of Whole30 this past month. And
actually, we should, before we start going into how much it was, we should talk about why we've done it twice.
Well, that's a good idea.
I just realized. So I had heard of Whole30. I had quite a few friends that did it, and so I didn't really know anything about it other than it was really hard and that it was intense. And I don't know how you found out.
I came across Whole30 on Facebook. A Business Insider, the businessinsider.com page had shared there was this new fad diet that was sweeping Instagram by storm, and I had recognized Whole30 from having seen it before, seen the hashtag on Instagram, and looked into it a little bit more and found out that it wasn't so sensational. Really, it was smart, and so it was something that I wanted to try because I was not in a healthy place at that time a year ago.
Yeah, so we did it, we started in May, right?
May 14th of 2016.
And how much did you weigh when we started it?
So when we started it last May, I weighed 263 pounds. To give you some context, I'm 6 feet 5 inches, and a person my size should weigh about 200 to 210 pounds to have a healthy weight. So I was significantly overweight, considered obese. Had at that time been recently diagnosed with sleep apnea, so was required to sleep with a breathing mask because my neck had grown to be so large that the muscle and tissue that keeps your airways open at nighttime would collapse on itself. So snoring was an issue.
Big time.
Big time. Would come home from work and would have no energy to play with kids. I'd just lounge around on the couch, watch TV, and had absolutely no fitness at all.
And then at the end of the 30 days, do you remember what you weighed?
240 pounds. So in 30 days, I had lost 23 pounds. And at that time, that was huge. Still overweight.
Awesome.
But about a week and a half, 2 weeks into our first round of Whole30, I like to refer to it as feeling like I had tiger's blood going through my veins. I had this newfound sense of energy that I had never experienced before. So I took up walking in the evenings, and eventually I had finished my walk and I still had plenty of energy, so I'd start running a little bit. And then I realized that running was a fun challenge for me, something that didn't come easily, but something that I wanted to keep pursuing and see how it could help me to be a healthier, more active person. And the running and walking with the kind of nutritional reset for those 30 days really helped me to get great results. Went from what should have been a size 38 waistband on my pants to down to a 34, and have since even brought that down more.
So my Whole30 story is kind of unique because we started Whole30 and it was about 2 weeks into it. It's probably day 14 or 12 even. We found out I was pregnant. And I mean, I don't know how many of you have ever experienced the first trimester of pregnancy, but it's not enjoyable to not be on a diet. So being on a diet was really hard. And I got to the point that absolutely everything that we could eat seemed like the worst thing in the world I mean, I would dry heave, even thinking about having to eat another avocado, or, I mean, there were a few foods that just, I couldn't even think about. So, unfortunately, on day 18, I had to give up, and I broke Whole30 by eating a dry tortilla. All along I dreamt of breaking Whole30 by having like a cinnamon roll or a sugar cookie or a big fat Diet Dr. Pepper or something, and I broke it by having a dry tortilla. So he was a champion and finished his 30 days, and so this time around I started when my baby was 4 weeks old, and that was like a whole new series of challenges which I'll talk about in my blog post, but when you're breastfeeding, you crave a lot of sugar and carbs, and so that was a whole other ballgame.
So I'll lead into that. I know we started with a question about budgeting and how much that costs, but before we get to that, the question, how is Whole30 different from any other type of diet? I explained what you couldn't eat and explained what you could eat. What really drew me to Whole30, in addition to kind of the results that I saw online, is that there's no counting calories. There's no portion restriction. Part of cutting out the processed food and the sugar is helping your brain and your gut, your body in general, to be able to sense when it's genuinely full. And so it's impossible to overeat while you're on Whole30. Take it up as a challenge, and you'll find out that it is impossible to overeat on Whole30. And I never felt like I went without either. When you start eating those whole foods, the fruits, vegetables, the lean meats, you just feel great. You feel full, and you have a few snacks throughout the day, and I never felt like I was starving, unlike things I've tried in the past where I've counted calories and done this and that left me hungry and angry and upset.
There were, obviously we were hangry at some
Oh yeah,
times.
first couple weeks is awful,
Yeah.
especially the first time around.
Yeah.
I went from probably drinking 5 or 6 cans or bottles of Dr. Pepper a day, from morning time to right before bed, to cutting out pop and sugar cold turkey, I guess you would say. And so the first time around, I really experienced symptoms similar to withdrawing from drugs. The sweats, achiness, fatigue, irritability, I mean, you name it.
We are selling you on
And
this.
I had it for the first maybe 10 days. But if you can make it through the first 10, 12 days, honestly, it's almost like a switch flipped. And I started experiencing the benefits before the second week was over.
Yeah. Okay, so grocery budget. We veered off of that
Yeah.
quite a bit, but
So the grocery budget for us was a lot. Over the entire month, it ended up being about $1,000 for groceries. And we say that because we really tried to have something different for every meal. And the first time we did this, I don't think we had the same dish at any meal on any day, which was exciting and fun to kind of spread out our wings and try new things, but not practical and not sensible. And so the second time, this past month that we went around, we didn't do that. We decided on a 7-day menu that we were going to rotate for 4 weeks. And that cut down on the spending considerably, and we even had room to cut down more. You could really make it as simple as you'd like, but
we were saying today, like, you could do Whole30 and only have eggs, sweet potatoes, and like some avocados.
some fruit, vegetables.
Some fruits and vegetables, and you would be, you could do it on the cheap. It wouldn't be super enjoyable, but you could do it on the cheap.
But I love the experience of eating food.
Yeah.
And an unforeseen benefit of our Whole30 is that I've developed an interest in love of cooking. And so I wanted to try more dishes, and we were willing to spend the money on the grocery list, knowing
on
that
things like fish and stuff.
Fish, shrimp, sirloin steak, knowing that the money we were putting towards these fruits and vegetables, these lean meats, was really going to be a long-term investment in our health, a long-term investment in prolonging our life, to be around with our kids, an investment in having the energy to play with our kids and not have them growing up wishing that their dad didn't spend all his time on the couch in front of the TV. And so while seeing the number, the dollar amount that we spend in 30 days on food is a little bit hard to stomach, it's definitely worth it, because even since we stopped this last Whole30, we finished that, I've spent so much more time with my 2 girls than I did even prior to that, when I thought that I had turned a corner, which I had. And so every dollar spent was worth it for me.
Well, and that kind of helps segue into one of the questions I actually had for later. Is someone had asked how we eat after Whole30, and I think that kind of segues into it, because we're not spending what we did on Whole30. I think also something you have to realize is when you're on Whole30, you're not eating out as often or at all. And so that's money also that we spent, or that we saved that way. So it didn't feel like we were spending the $1,000 on groceries. It wasn't as hard to stomach as that sounds necessarily, but...
Well, another thing to consider is where you're starting off. We started off with having a bunch of junk food in our pantry and fridge, and so we either gave away or threw away the food that was not going to help us be successful on Whole30, and basically had to stock our fridge and pantry all over again.
Yeah.
And then each week after that, we had to buy less and less, because we had the the inventory.
Yeah.
So depending on where you're at, it may be cheaper. We did not. I don't know if we had fruits or vegetables in our house.
Oh my gosh.
We did.
We
Did, but I couldn't have named very many of them for you. And now I'm an encyclopedia of produce.
Yeah.
But
although yesterday you just learned what a shallot was.
yeah, shallot. Don't cut them unless you have safety goggles. They're onions times 1,000. Yeah. So how we eat after Whole30. How we eat now is different than how we ate after the first Whole30. At least for me, after the first Whole30 was over, I was excited to introduce grains and introduce dairy and have pancakes with peanut butter and whole maple syrup, which is my absolute favorite thing to eat. And, I didn't pick up the candy. I still haven't drank a pop since May 13th of last year. At first, at least. I didn't drink the pop. I didn't pick up the candy at first, but slowly it started coming back, especially on road trips. And so I encouraged Mackenzie to do a second round of Whole30 with me because I could see that I was starting to slip and lose control, and I didn't want to get back to that place where I unfortunately was before. And so this time, with the exception of open or cheat meals, I haven't had grains or dairy or sugar on purpose. I bought some trail mix that I didn't read the ingredients list on very carefully, and so we've been enjoying some nice sugary trail mix for the last week.
Oh wow.
But now we're really trying to figure out what's going to be sustainable, but we've been eating a paleo diet. Let me rephrase that. Whole30 is based off of a paleo diet. Whole30 restricts the amount of fruit you can eat. Definitely encourages you to limit the type of fruit you can eat. And generally a paleo diet, there are different takes on it. Yep.
Our baby looks like a pirate right now. Her boat fell in front of her face.
But now our paleo diet, still no grains, no dairy, no legumes or processed foods, no added sugar, but we're kind of taking an 80-20 principle on there. 80% paleo, 20% open. And so unlike Whole30, which was very strict, you mess up, you start over, with our paleo diet, we're able to go out and enjoy meals with friends or go out to breakfast together, which we're going to do in the morning, and have some of those things that we enjoy but we know aren't great for you on a day-to-day basis.
Well, and there's like different varying degrees of paleo, and so I mean, like there's some crackers that I have that has a little corn in it, and I'm okay with that. But they're whatever. It is what it is. But so yeah, that's how we're eating now, and I feel good. Last week was our first week since Whole30, and I was so looking forward to all my cheats. I had them all planned out and was so excited. And we were eating voodoo donuts at like 11
o'clock at night,
11:50 at night on a Saturday, fitting in all of those cheats, and I felt so sick. And so
yeah, won't be doing that again.
Yeah, no, this week we haven't used any so far, so which means we get one each for the rest of the week. We get one each day.
But what about talking about the results from the second round of Whole30?
So I ended up losing 9 pounds, which I'm only 5'4", so that's like significant for my height. And I lost, I think the biggest thing for me was I lost 4 inches around my waist, which is huge, especially after having a baby. It feels good to get that. I actually didn't have like a weight loss goal for this. My goal was to be able to do up my pre-maternity pants, and they are snug, but they can button, and that's all that matters. There's obviously I'm not going to lose all 35 to 40 pounds that I gained during my pregnancy. I'm not going to lose that in 30 days. That obviously would not be healthy. So I have a ways to go, but we've talked a lot about this recently, that it's not a race. Like I'm not racing anyone to lose this weight. It's a lifestyle, and it'll come off.
And I think that was my mistake the first time around, is thinking that there was a timeline. 30 days was up. I got the results that I got, and now life could go back to normal. And so this time around, I started at 221 and ended at 212. So lost 9 pounds as well. Down to I can fit into a size 31 jeans. So went from a 38 a year ago, 10 months ago, to 31 now. And with eating our paleo diet since, have lost a few more pounds, down to about 209, 210, and feel great as well. Lost inches around my waist, my tummy, chest, neck, and
I know, I was surprised, I even lost weight. I didn't think I would lose any weight on my neck, but it was cool that, it was pretty cool. So, okay, so one of the questions that we had was, what do kids eat when their parents are doing Whole30? Which I thought this was a really good idea, a really good question. We're lucky for the most part, and our 5-year-old, I would say, is a pretty awesome eater. She did not eat everything that we ate. She hates sweet potatoes, and she let us know that every time we had sweet potatoes, which was on a daily basis. So she didn't eat anything that we had that was sweet potatoes, but she's really good with vegetables. So she would have pretty much whatever vegetable we were having at dinner, she would have the vegetable too. If it was spicy, then she wouldn't have that either. But she was pretty good. She was a pretty good sport about eating, or at least trying what we were eating. I was pretty proud of her for that. But there were a lot of quesadillas for her, and what she calls kids packs, which it's made by the Bird's Eye brand, and it's frozen vegetable and pasta with a cheese sauce, and she liked those. And I didn't feel bad about giving her those foods, because one, I didn't want to put a 5-year-old on a diet. I didn't want her to feel guilty about eating like a kid, and like I said, she did a really good job at eating plenty of fruits and vegetables, like she always does. She's a way better example about eating fruits and vegetables than I ever was as a kid. So we never made completely separate whole meals. She would at least have the side of what we were having, or she would have the main dish that we were having with.
Yeah, and if we do it again, if we could go back and do it again, even with the paleo dishes that we make now, a good rule of thumb is to encourage our daughter or your kids to eat as many bites as the number of their age. So our daughter, you got to eat 5 bites. If you don't like it, we'll make you quesadilla or a sandwich or whatever it is. And I've thought a lot about, I'm reforming the way I eat, because I've read some things and believe some things about the nutrition of certain types of foods versus others, and do I force that on my child or not? And right now, I don't think I do. I want her to be a kid, and I want her to be able to socialize and not feel ostracized when she goes over to a friend's house and they're not eating the same types of foods as their mom and dad eat, and that's okay. I think any time you try to force something on somebody, it's going to come back to hit you in the face. And definitely didn't want my 5-year-old to be worrying about weight or appearance or losing weight. That's not anything.
Something that was pretty cute, though, is we would sit down and meal plan, and she she really wanted to be a part of that. And so she made her own meal plan, and she made a little chart. She drew a picture. She had
Honey Nut Cheerios.
What was that? It was Captain Crunch.
Captain Crunch.
Captain Crunch. She drew a Captain Crunch. She drew a quesadilla, and then she drew the kids pack, like the pasta with broccoli or whatever. And then she made like a little chart that she would check each day when she would have her Captain Crunch, when she'd have her quesadilla, or I think it was yogurt too. Anyway, she'd mark it off as she ate them, and it was pretty cute. But I think even that little thing that she was doing, that little habit, I think it's a great learning experience for her, because I mean, I didn't know how to meal plan, and obviously like it wasn't full on meal plan, but it was for a 5-year-old.
And she's becoming more aware of the things that she's putting into her body.
Yeah.
And you know, she'll often ask us if something is healthy or something is healthier than something else, and occasionally we'll entertain the conversation. Other times we'll just say, you know what, don't worry about it, enjoy it. This is a treat, and helping her to develop some healthy habits without becoming neurotic.
Yeah, we don't want to be a tiger. Okay, so milk production. You want to talk about this?
Mine went away. I dried up pretty quickly when I cut those grains out.
So this was by far the most commonly asked question for me, was, how was your milk production? So for the most part, it was great. And the nice thing, like we had talked about before, is you're not counting calories. You're not cutting back on the foods that you're putting in your body. And so for the most part, I didn't really have to worry about it. I had prepared ahead of time, not thinking that I was going to do Whole30, but I had ordered fennel seed oil. And anytime that I noticed that my milk production was maybe dropping a teeny bit, I would just use a little fennel seed oil, just apply it. And you obviously like do your own research, but you don't want to overdo it on the fennel seed oil. I won't go into too many details about why, but I would just use that, and then it seemed like my milk production went back up. And I'm solely pumping and feeding, and so I just made sure to stay on top of pumping every 3 to 4 hours, and that would keep my milk production up. And thankfully I had produced quite a bit before and was able to freeze some milk before, because there were a few times that problem too is she went through a major growth spurt, and so anyway, I was able to rely a little on some of the frozen milk that I had, but it all worked out. It all worked out great. There wasn't ever a point that was like, I have nothing for my baby. You know, it all ended up being totally fine, and she's over her growth spurt, and now I have more milk than she needs. So yeah, it worked out fine. I know a lot of people had said that they were worried about not producing enough milk, but don't let that prevent you from doing Whole30, because I guess one thing I should say though is she hated Whole30. Zoe hated Whole30 for the first 2 weeks for sure. She did have like a tummy ache. She would have a lot of poopy diapers, a lot of blowouts. We had a lot of laundry because she would just poop through all of her clothes, because I had a lot more fiber, I guess, going into my milk supply, and that poor little girl. But now she's she's totally fine. It was like probably 10 to 12 days that were kind of hard with a fussy little baby, but yeah, she did good.
So, question for you. What, we talked about things you can eat: fruits, vegetables, lean meats, nuts. What were some of your must-have ingredient foods on Whole30, the ones that you'd go back to for recipes? Maybe 3 or 4 essentials.
3 or 4 essentials, I would say sweet potatoes, which I never liked before Whole30, so it's funny. Sweet potatoes, bananas, You'll learn quickly doing Whole30 that sweet potatoes or bananas can be turned into pretty much anything. Yeah, sweet potatoes, bananas, avocados, and eggs. Those are like my 4 must-haves.
I think I'd add to that.
Have to have in my...
What really helped me to cut out the pop was LaCroix.
Oh, yeah.
Sparkling water.
Oh, yeah, which that's one of our questions is how did you cook, or how did you cook? How did you kick your soda and sugar cravings?
By sheer will at first. It was very hard going from drinking pop all day, every day, to drinking water. And that's basically all you can have on Whole30 in terms of liquids. And after a few days, drinking tap water got pretty boring pretty quickly. And so we found out about LaCroix sparkling water, which is naturally essenced water.
Tell them about our first experience trying it.
Well, it was disgusting. I don't even remember what type we...
It was berry.
Berry, which still isn't one of my favorite flavors. But we tried it, and it tasted like Alka-Seltzer. But since has become my absolute favorite drink. Like the type I would sneak into a movie theater. I'm trying to sneak water into a movie theater because I enjoy it so much. So that helped a lot. Fruit helped a lot. I know that on Whole30 they encourage you to limit your fruit intake, particularly for your blood sugar levels and to make sure that you're not converting sugar back into fat storage. But there's times when you just had to say, I need some fruit or else I'm going to crack. So we'd have some fruit.
And for us, like, I knew beforehand that we wanted to eat more paleo afterwards. And so for me, it was kind of like, well, this is my lifestyle choice. And so I'm okay with having fruit.
Yeah. And there are plenty of people on the internet, on the interwebs, that are going to see this or read something like this and say, well, you weren't actually Whole30 because you ate too much fruit or you did this or that. And I guess my response to those type of trolls or
screw you
purists is we're trying to make a lifestyle change, and so we're going to have to make some concessions if the difference is having a bowl of fruit versus a bag of Doritos. I'm going to take the fruit.
Yeah. And we would have, every once in a while, we would treat ourselves with a smoothie, and it would be, I would put in some frozen berries and like a whole ton of kale, and then just a little 100% pineapple juice in there, and it's like one of our family's favorites.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, there's no way we would have had that much kale had we not had those smoothies. So, like, that helped the sugar cravings for me. I fell madly, deeply in love with dried mango that was at Costco, and I can't even talk about it right now because they didn't have any when we went there, and they said they're not carrying it anymore. And I have a personal beef with Costco right now because of it, because I am totally willing to spend the $18 on a bag of dried mango because it has no added sugar or anything. It was so good. But for me, I love like Sour Patch Kids and Starburst and like the more sour, chewy things. And so like dried mango was really good for me to have when I absolutely needed something like that. And what I have learned is, especially when you're breastfeeding, that's one of the times in your lives when you are going to crave sugar and carbs the most. And I decided to do this crazy thing during probably the hardest time that I could have. And so, like, I consider that a huge win by not caving. And so that dried mango totally helped a sister out that way.
Yeah, so Tammy Smith asked, is it the kind at Winco in the bulk section? No. It's not. I mean, that's very good, but this is in a, what do you call it? Like a bag where they suck the air out.
And it's just like a
just
big Ziploc bag.
No sugar added, just straight mango. And to be clear, fruit smoothies, dried fruit, is not Whole30 compliant. So there were times that we would make concessions to blur the lines between traditional Whole30 and a paleo diet, because we weren't doing Whole30 to say we had done Whole30. We were doing Whole30 to really redirect our lifestyle. And so there are some who would hear that, may be very upset, perhaps calling us frauds and throwing rotting fruit at our house. But it was a personal decision that we made.
That's something that you'll learn is if you do Whole30 and you look up any sort of question and you come across these forums, there's some very passionate people out there.
They're going to find holes in your approach, however you do it. Unfortunately, they never say how they do it.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it, though.
Well, a question I would have if I were watching right now, or what are your tips for being successful with Whole30? A couple of mine: meal plan. Don't wake up in the morning assuming that you're going to be able to eat a Whole30 diet that day. We would sit down before we even started Whole30. We planned out our entire first week, and then we would sit down at the end of each week and plan out the next week, and we would create the grocery list, and we would go shopping for those foods, and we actually had the menu on our fridge, and we would print out the recipes and keep them in a binder on because my mom's watching. She just commented, "Hey mom."
I'm like, why are you laughing?
Yeah, so we plan, really figure out what you're going to eat, figure out what's going to be for breakfast on Monday, lunch on Monday, and dinner on Monday. If you work outside of the house, make dinners large enough that the leftovers can be your lunch for the next day, because you're going to be doing a lot of cooking, a lot of meal prep, and a lot of dishes. Dinner.
Be when he did it the first time, he had like a little quote that he would say all the time is, "We didn't come this far to come this far." And I would just have to remind myself, like, I did not keep myself from drinking Coke Zero for the past 5 days just to say that I didn't have Coke Zero for 5 days. Like, it was, I had to begin with that end in mind, and that really helped me power through it. But definitely having a plan, and for me, I am like a total snacker, and so planning, and especially with breastfeeding and stuff, like I had to snack, and planning for those snacks was really important, because on that first week I pretty much was starving myself because I wasn't eating enough at our meals. And anyway, I'll talk about all that stuff on my blog post, but yeah, so for me personally, I had to plan snacks as well. So
yeah, and just having grab bags of snacks ready to go, whether it's vegetables in your fridge, or one thing that I found I really liked, and I encourage you to try, even if you don't do Whole30, is frozen grapes. Getting grapes,
I forgot
putting them in the freezer, and getting a bowl of them and eating them.
Somebody please just say, that's normal. How have you
Never
not
heard
ever
of it
tried that
before, and it changed my life. Changed my life.
I've had frozen grapes for years and love them. Another one of our favorite snacks that we discovered was slicing up an apple and putting cinnamon on top of it. It's so good.
And I personally like putting it in a bowl and putting raisins in with it as well.
And
carrots.
Don't do that. That's gross.
I like that.
But there's lots of snack options out there for Whole30 crew. But Anyway, so I hope that we have answered all of your questions. We've answered all of the ones we got asked, a lot of the same types of questions, so hopefully we covered all of those. But thank you guys so much for joining in. I'm glad that we had quite a few of you here, so that was fun. And let me know if there are any questions that we didn't address, and then I can address those in my blog post next week. Thanks for joining. Bye, guys. Now let's see. Maybe. Why isn't it doing it?
You want to make a